There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friendly Show. I am your host and friend, Lee. Okay, we did it. I am so excited to be here. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think it's working. We have a different mic. It's Mike's mic. And anyway, here we go. Uh, I really hope that you guys are here watching live as we do every week. I did not do an announcement. This is the first week that I have not posted about it. So I'm just hoping that some of you guys remember that it is every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, or whatever the equivalent is for you. And I'll let you guys know a little bit about the show if this is the first time that you're listening to it or watching it. If you're listening to it in the audio version, I highly recommend that you come on over to Facebook or Twitch, actually YouTube or Twitch. I'm still trying to figure out how to get it over to Facebook. And we record live. And it's not like your typical podcast where I'll just be talking at you for an hour. I will be sharing my experiences and my thoughts, and I'll tell you kind of how we um, kind of the framework for the show. But my favorite part of the show is when you are here in the comments and I bring them right up on screen and you become a live part of the show. So your comments, your experiences, your questions become a part of the live stream. So that's always my favorite part. The way that we framework, or the framework that we use for this show, is the happy framework. And that is just a way of us kind of becoming more aware of the happy moments in our life. So we look at 5 different areas: happy, health, affection for ourselves, purpose, partnerships, and our youthfulness. So week 1 of the month, we talk about our health and our affection for ourselves. Week 2, purpose. Week 3, partnerships, which is week 3 today. And then week 4, we do youthfulness. And we try to center it all around a common theme for the month. This month, we are doing Suicide Awareness Month because that's what it is. And so it's not really, that we're going to be talking about the month, like Suicide Awareness Month. Mike and I are doing a walk actually in Michigan on Saturday. A couple friends are doing it with us. It's the NAMI walk. And if you're in the area and you want to participate, please do. The following week, there's another walk in Windsor. So we're going to be doing that. It's the SAM walk, so the Suicide Awareness Month walk. And but the purpose of the show is really for us to be I like to liken it to you coming into my living room. I've invited you over. Maybe you've brought a friend. I've invited a couple friends. We're hanging around in our living room and you're talking about whatever that theme was. But if you've ever had a conversation with me in real life, you know that we kind of squirrel all the way around. So that usually happens in these episodes, that we'll start talking about one thing and then we'll end up kind of going in other directions. So that probably will happen tonight. But tonight is centered around partnerships and how those can help with suicide prevention. So partnerships is just simply relationships. It's just, there's no R in happy. And the framework, it really is the happy framework. So HAPPY. So partnerships are so important. Relationships are really, really important. Connection is vital. We are all creatures that need community. We just do. And we can pretend that we don't, but it's not true. So we need to be in a group. For some people, you don't need as many people. Some people need a lot of people around them. Some people just need that one great friend. Some people don't even need to have somebody really close. They just need to have a lot of kind of relationships that they're able to communicate with throughout the day, throughout the week, that kind of thing. Somebody that they know that they can trust, somebody that they know that they can confide in, but they don't necessarily need to have somebody that they have to talk to every single day. So depending on where you're at, it might be you might fall into one of those, or you might fall into a different category. And you can let us know in the comments kind of like where you're at. How do you feel you need social connection? For me, mine varies. So the older that I'm getting, the more I'm realizing that I just need a couple of really good people. I don't need a lot of people around me. I do like to have people around me. I like learning from different people. But really, when it comes down to it, for me, um, I really just need a couple of people. So I've got, my parents and my sister and Mike. Those are my people. And everybody else, all my friends, and I've got really great close friends. Um, those are all just kind of like added bonuses that I'm really, really lucky to have. But for me, I don't need to have a lot. Um, and that might change. That might change as I get older. We'll see. But I do need to have security and stability of where I feel like I can be talking to people, and confiding in them. And Mike is really my person. And then my parents and my sister, they've been around for, 44 years. And so we have a really tight bond. As I'm getting older, on top of those connections, like the close connections, what I know to be true is that I need um, professional mental health professionals in my life. I need to have coaches and therapists and people to be able to help me navigate this kind of new world of becoming more aware. And I think there's been such a stigma, at least I've felt it. So if you're in a position that you don't see a stigma about going to therapy, kudos to you. Like, you did something right. Either you were raised by therapists and they like instilled it in you, or you just got to a point that you're like, I need somebody. But there's a lot of us that had stigma around it. And I did growing up, that I didn't want to go to a therapist because that meant that something was wrong. And now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that's not the case. It's kind of, I liken it to, you have a family doctor, and the family doctor is there. So then if you get sick, you can go to them. But really, you want to have a family doctor also so you can do that physical every year, that you can have a physical and know where you're at. And you can also have somebody that gets it, that if you're just feeling a little bit off, you can go to them and be like, hey, I'm not feeling completely up to par. What do you think's going on? Instead of being in your own head or WebMD or whatever, right? I think having a therapist is similar, that you can have somebody that you can kind of talk to, on a regular basis. So as things are going, you can be navigating, getting different tools, having a different perspective. And then also when there's like crisis. So when you get that flu or that virus or that episode in your life that you just, oh my gosh, this is something that I need. You've already built a rapport with this person, doctor, therapist, fill in the blank, that you're just comfortable saying, hey, you know what? Now I know that we like see each other regularly, but I actually need to work on this thing. And that's the way that I look at therapy. I think that's why I think we really need to get rid of the stigma of therapy and really embrace it. And I think everybody should have their own therapist, counselor, coach, whatever, however you want to call it, whatever you want. But I think if you're not seeing somebody, I highly recommend that you do. My life has improved significantly since I have been seeing people. And something I'm going to share is something that I've been going through recently is, I don't know what it's called. I'm sure it has a name. I'm sure it does, but it's almost like a fatigue that I got. So I was going through a lot of digging deep and reliving things, and it was really good. And I was coming to a lot of like aha moments and breakthroughs and all this kind of stuff. And then I got to a point where I was just like, I couldn't take anymore. My nervous system couldn't take it. And I told Mike, I was like, I don't even want to talk about growth. I don't want to talk about anything. This was just like a week or two ago. And that only lasts. It only lasted a day. But I was like, for the next week, I don't want to talk. I don't want to grow. I don't want to dive in. I don't want to do anything. I'm done. And giving myself that reprieve, just giving myself kind of the out that I didn't have to do any more quote unquote work, that gave me enough of a breather. And when I was talking to my coach today, when I was talking to my coach today, she was explaining it as, yeah, sometimes you just need a breather. So um, I want to let you guys know that too, that if you're new with this, if you've been in therapy, then you probably have experienced it. But if you're new to it and you're like, okay, this is just too much for me, I can't do it. Um, Taking a break, like just taking a pause, just so then you can catch your breath again. Don't quit, don't stop. Just take a pause, take a moment, um, and just be honest about where you're at. Okay. So just because things are uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that you have to keep pushing through, but it also doesn't mean that you have to shy away or run away or stop. So I also wanted to, so every episode, I always share this little disclaimer, and it comes at the beginning of the show or at the end of the show, or sometimes like this, just in the middle of the show. I want you to know I am not a healthcare professional in any means. I'm not a therapist, a counselor. I am simply your friend. And I just want to start conversations that I think need to be had. Either they need to be had in society as a whole, or maybe I just need to have them, or maybe somebody in our group posed a question and kind of needed to talk about it, or maybe we're having a conversation and like I said, it kind of like turns because somebody in the comments makes a comment and we dive into that kind of section, but I am not a healthcare professional. So if I say anything on the show or you hear anything on the show and it resonates and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like that's me, or man, I really want to try that treatment, that medication, that whatever was being talked about, please go and see a healthcare professional and make sure that they know your history before you try any of these things. Okay. So that is that. Um, but if you're not ready for therapy, that's okay too. I think having people in your corner, or even just having places like the Friendly Show. We have a Facebook group that is a private Facebook group. You're more than welcome to join us. It's the Friendly Leigh show. You can come on over there. I accept everybody in, but you do have to answer a question. I don't even know what it is, but you do have to answer it because I don't want like bots in there. I don't want people in there that are like AI, whatever, that are just going to be like making weird comments and things like that. I want it to be a real living room that everybody's talking in. And sometimes that's a good enough first start, is just commenting on things inside of there slowly. Maybe just seeing how other people are commenting in there. So oh, okay. So we have our first comment. This is my favorite. It really is, you guys. Okay. So Sound Guy 1337 says, why did it only last a day? Did you do something to cope or change your mindset? Did you just sleep it off and shove down the feelings? No. So I'm glad you asked. And because I did want to come back to that. And then I totally sidebar. I'll tell you why it changed. So that was Thursday. So I'll kind of go through last week on the show. I explained that last week on the show, on the Sunday, I went and watched a movie. It highly triggered me, like super, super triggered me. And I had a really bad couple days where I relived a trauma very, it was very strong. It was very like I was back in that body that time. And so Wednesday during the show, I talked all about it. And this sometimes is my therapy. Sometimes this show is just me like, hey guys, here's where I am. And then I piece things together, and then you guys can see me piece things together on the show. And so I started feeling a little bit better, but I got off the show, and then Thursday, I was like, you know what, Mike, I'm done. I can't do anymore. I'm exhausted. I've relived this. I've been crying for like 10 days straight. So it was just too much. Friday, I had an appointment with a therapist who is also a hypnotherapist. And I've seen him before, and he's really, really good. But I didn't want to see him because I was done. I didn't want to grow. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to share. I didn't want to do any of it. However, he's a small business. I'm a small business. And I know how shitty it is to like cancel last minute. So it was Friday. My appointment was at 2 o'clock. And it's like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, I just can't do it. I got to cancel. I did not cancel because I didn't want to take that income away from him, to be quite honest. It's the only reason why I went. It's because I didn't want to take the income away from him. So I was going to go. And when I sat down with him, oh, hey, Britt, morning, morning. So when by the way, if you're listening to this in the audio version, it's a lot easier if you're over watching live on YouTube or Twitch because you can see the comments and know that it's not as squirrely or jumpy. Anyway, it still kind of is. So when I went to the therapist, I went to him and I said, hey, listen, I kind of want to talk to you about something. However, so he did hypnosis on my mom for heights when we went to Europe, and it worked really, really, really well. And she got over her heights. She had like a mega fear. She could be on just like an incline in a driveway and like be freaking out that the car was just gonna roll back. Like she was really bad. Well, now we were gonna go to like Portugal and Tuscany, and like we were going all over the place in Malta. So we were going to all these places and she wanted to be able to enjoy the trip. So she got hypnosis for that. And she did it. And then it lasted for 4 years, maybe 5 years. And now she has started getting it back. And so I told him, and I was completely upfront. I was like, listen, I've got some stuff that I need to deal with, and I'm ready to do the work and I'm ready to deal with it. So I don't want you doing it's kind of like EDMR, but it's called rapid emotional release. Anyway, I was like, I don't want you to do your thing on me. And then it's just like a band-aid. And then a couple years down the road, it ends up just blindsiding me again. I don't want that. I want to deal with it right now. He's like, well, that's not how it works. Your mom must have like had another something that affected her that created a new kind of trauma about heights, because that doesn't work. It doesn't just wear off. And I said, okay. So I tell him the whole situation, and we work through part of it, which was, if you remind me, I'll get back to like kind of what that was. And I know it's going to turn some of our viewers off, but it is what it is. And I'm going to explain it. So we discussed it. He let me see it from a different kind of angle, made me feel a little bit better. Then we did the rapid emotional release. I was crying like a baby, like through the whole session, which was kind of like an ongoing thing that I had been doing for 2 weeks anyway. And that's part of it. It's like my coach today explained it to me that when you're open, it's really good because then you can kind of tap into things. But it becomes difficult because then now you're really open and sensitive to everything, and more things can kind of come in. And so it's a really, that's why you need to be with people that can work through things with you. Anyway, so I was in this place where I was extremely vulnerable, dealing with a lot of stuff. And so I was just very emotional. So we are going through this, and he's like, you know, explaining to me, we're getting through this rapid emotional release where you have to be back in the situation. You can't be thinking from a rational standpoint now. You have to kind of put yourself back into that mindset that you were in. And it was very easy for me because I had been living that all week. So I was there. And so it was all making sense. And then he was like, you're a good person. You're a good person. And I could not say it. I was like, I'm not. That is not a belief that I can hold right now. And he made me kind of keep working through it. And after that session, I swear, you guys, it was so magic. After that session, I released, like, it felt like 50 pounds off of my shoulders. So then I was now in a place that I felt more calm. I got rid of enough that I was ready to do more work. So then I went back into doing the work, and I went back to therapy today. And so that's why I didn't last very long. Had I not gone to that session, I don't know. I might have still been in a point right now that I was just hyper um vigilant, and didn't I was just, hyper aroused, really, that it was just like everything was, if anything else hit me, I wasn't going to be able to handle it, it felt like. But that hypnotherapist ended up doing the EDMR, or rapid emotional release, and released enough for me, that really helped. And this is one of the things that I'm going to tell you, just because I'm completely honest with you guys always, but I know that I'm going to probably turn off some people. So I am spiritual. I do believe in God and Mary and all the things. I have a really hard time with Roman Catholic, like Catholicism, the Roman Catholic Church. I just have a hard time with the people part of it. And it's funny because we're talking about partnerships today. So this is where you can choose what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So Catholicism has never really worked for me, but I have been raised Catholic, went to church every week, did all the sacraments, did all the things. We kind of talked about this last week because it was played into my trauma. Um, and so while I was in the session on Friday, he said something kind of funny, and it made things easier for me. He's like, if you okay, so Britt says God doesn't belong in a box with a title. He just wants a personal relationship. Amen. And thank you so much for that, Britt. Yes. So that's my God right there. Yes. He just wants a personal relationship. He just wants partnership with you, and any way that it's going to be. This Roman Catholic box is dangerous to me. If you're Roman Catholic and it works for you, great. The way that this therapist explained it to me, which just totally resonated with me. He's like, first of all, if you're going to believe one thing that they say, you have to believe all of it. And he says, and if you can't believe all of it, then you really shouldn't believe any of it. And you should be questioning all of it. So, and he believes in God, and he's he's not atheist. He's not, and if you are atheist, fine. I don't care. I'm not pushing anything on anybody. All I'm saying is that it was a cool way of him looking at this. So what he said, and Britt says, by the way, that blouse makes your eyes pop. Well, thank you so much, Britt. I thought you were gonna say like how much it matches. It's pretty matchy. Which actually sometimes just makes me want to change the brand colors and get rid of the pink and just be green. I don't know. We're gonna see. Maybe I will change that. Anywho, get back to it, Leanne. So, what he said is, if you're going to believe one thing, then you got to believe all of it. And if you can't believe all of it, then you got to really question it. And the reason why he said that is because my biggest problem was that, it was, you can't have sex before you get married. Otherwise you're going to hell. That was a whole thing all growing up in high school. And that was the message, right? So they try to instill this fear in you and all this stuff in you. And then it happens. And then I go and see my priest, because now I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm going to hell. Like, I'm only like, I was 20 or 21 or however old I was. And I was like, now I have my whole life ahead of me, but I'm going to go to hell. So, like, what's the point? Like, this sucks. And I thought the end of the world was there and whatever. And so now the priest is like, oh, it's okay. Just don't put yourself in that position again, which was shitty for him to say, but I get why he said it. And then he was like, now you can just go and do these penance and things, whatever, go back to church, do the thing, and you'll be okay. So what my therapist said, which I thought was just hilarious, he was like, the Catholics, you guys believe that you were born guilty, and you're born guilty, but if you come to church every week, we can take care of that for you as long as you bring cash. And when he said it, I was like, oh my gosh, that is funny. Like, it was funny, kind of true. And I was like, why would they instill such fear in us and such guilt? And then now I've been unpacking it all. How much guilt I have, and how much that comes from my Catholic upbringing. That whole situation, yes, what he did was shitty, because no means no. but it wouldn't have been as traumatic, I don't think. I don't think it would have been as traumatic if I didn't feel like I was going to hell because of it. If I didn't believe that it was a bad thing. And then because I believed that it was a bad thing and that I'm a bad person, I have never truly been able to believe that I'm a good person. I do good things. I do, and I'm not looking at all for anybody to be like, oh no, wait, you're a great person. Want. No, deep down, I could not believe that I was a good person. And that's part of, so now I've been digging into this since the meeting on Friday. It released enough that I've really been able to like, I have a lot of work to do, you guys. We all do. But I'm able to kind of like look at this now, and it's like that's why I can't really take a compliment. And I'm sure there's also a million other things of how I was raised and what went on at school and what the teachers were saying and what I believed and all these kinds of things that I'm going to be able to like unpack and unlayer and do all these things. But for right now, my lens is through this. What did those beliefs do for me? And that's part of the not feeling good enough because I always feel guilty. I never feel like a good enough person because I never measure up to being exactly what they needed. Um, I wasn't, so even when people are like, "Oh, you're such a good person," I was like, I'm not. I'm not. I did this really big sin. And so even though I knew I did good in the world, even though I knew I was doing good things, never truly felt like a good person. And so through that session, I was able to, and that's what's like really fascinating to me about these different types of modalities and these different types of techniques and treatments. There's certain things that like we can't fully explain. EDMR, rapid eye release, all these kinds of things, they work for a lot of people. Maybe not for everybody, but they work for a lot of people. And I am a big proponent in trying the things. Try them and see if they work. Um, if they don't work, that's fine. There's a lot of things that, we try that don't work and we just don't think about it. I mean, how many things do you buy at Amazon that you think are going to be awesome? And then it's like, that's okay. And then you either return it or you just keep it because it was so cheap and you're just like, I can't be bothered. Um, but we don't think anything of that. But then when we get to therapy or we get to something that we really were like, okay, this is going to be the thing, and then it doesn't work out, all of a sudden the whole thing isn't good. No. So we need to just keep kind of trying all kinds of different things and seeing what lands for us. And so I was really, really happy that I decided to go. And it was totally just to people please. It was totally just to be like, I don't want to take your income, especially on a Friday. Like I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he didn't need my whatever it was. Um, but in my mind, it got me there. And I'm grateful that it got me there. And will I do that every, week, every 2 weeks? Probably not. But I am going to use that as part of my toolkit that like when I'm getting to that point that I really need to kind of tap into something and I'm kind of at a rope that I can't do it, I probably will go see him again. So sound guy, that was to a long way of answering why it only took me a day for me to go from I don't want to dive in anymore to I want to. It was because of that situation. And then I became extremely curious. I became really excited about like doing more work about it. Um, and I still am. I still am. One thing that I really want to do is I really want to become more aware of how I'm feeling in the moment. I That's just something I struggle with. And I want to become more aware of how I'm feeling in the moment, and the energy that I'm having in the moment and how I want my energy to be because I don't want to get to the point that it's just too much for me. I want to be able to feel like my nervous system is off. And instead of pushing through or pushing down, I want to be able to like say, okay, this is the point that I need to rest. And I need to just take a breather. I need just to get to a point that then I can do more work. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. So Sound Guy says +1 for EMDR. It let me explore memory pathways I never would have done by myself. Amazing. I was a skeptic at first. sorcery. But now do you like how I read it like it's a novel? I should put little like accents on. Anyway, but now I really like it and highly recommend it. That's awesome. That's so good. Oh, that's so cool. And Pop says, big hugs so you feel great in this moment. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I will share with you guys. So there's not a lot of you guys on the show watching live right now, but you're in for a little bit of a treat because I have a little bit of an announcement to make that I'm super, super excited about. So today is Mike and I's 5-year anniversary. We started dating for the second time 5 years ago today. And so he asked me, he's like, okay, what do you want to do to celebrate 5 years? Okay. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. And I was thinking about the show and I was like, do I have to cancel? Is this bad? Do I have to cancel the show or we're going to do something at night? Because I guess I could do the show on Thursday, but normally we do it on Wednesdays. And I kind of want to be there for everybody. And truly, like, if there's one of you that are listening, it's enough for me. And so I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess we could. Do we go for dinner? Like, I just was not creative and I didn't really, it's a big deal and I'm really happy about it. But I was like, so he was like, if you could do anything, what would it be? So obviously, first thing was New York. We couldn't do it. So I was like, I wake up in the morning and I go for a walk every morning. And I've got a walking group that I go with. I've got a couple friends on the side that I go with. And then sometimes I just do it on my own. And so I was like, and always goes to bed way too late to be able to wake up at 6 or 6:30 to go walking with me. So I was like, well, if I could get anything, it would be for us to wake up in the morning and to go walk to the beach. It's only like a 20-minute walk to the beach. I mean, like I'm literally across the street from the water, but there's this beach that's about 20-minute walk away. And I was like, I'd love to go there and watch the sunrise. That would be really cool. And then we could come back and then we could both go to work and be on with our day, but that would be really cool. So he's like, okay, it's a deal. Let's do it. And I actually, up until we actually got out of bed, I didn't think it was going to happen because he went to bed late and I just didn't think it was going to happen. So it did. So that's how we celebrated this morning. And so we're there and the sun, it was just beautiful. And it wasn't quite the sunrise, like at the horizon line, there was like a lot of clouds. So you couldn't actually see it break through the water. But then it opened up and it was just beautiful. And so, so Britt says, nice, congrats. Well, thank you. So there's more to the story. So then he was like, oh my gosh, we didn't get a video. We need to get a video. He documents everything, which I know one day I'll be really grateful, but sometimes it's just annoying. But he's like, we didn't get a video of it. And I was like, okay. So he puts the camera on a park bench and he sets it all up. So then there's the sun, and then we're going to be like, he's going to come up and stand next to me and we're going to do like a little video, whatever. So I said, okay. And I'm just waiting there, whatever. And then he comes over and he gets down on one knee and he proposed to me. And I just started crying like a baby, and I'm going to start crying again. So he proposed to me. And for those of you guys that are like scratching your head because you're like part of the show and you know Mike and I, you're like, he proposed, but you guys are married? Question mark. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, Super says, oh, big grats. Well, thank you. So yeah, so we're officially married, like just document wise. But now we're officially engaged and we're going to get married next year. So I am so excited, and it was like completely a huge surprise for me. I'm still kind of speechless about it. It's really cool. And we had tattoos done a year and a half ago for our wedding, because I was like, oh my gosh, we just need to get something because I don't want to not have something. I want people to know that we're married. And I've always wanted a tattoo, never could commit to anything. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want. And so I didn't actually want a wedding ring. And to the point that we like went to a store even just like 2 weeks ago, I think. And he was like, hey, if you did want a wedding ring, what kind of wedding ring would you want? And I was like, oh, that's fun. And we're looking, and I was like, well, I don't know. I just really like my tattoo. What I didn't know is he had been carrying the ring with him for 5 months, 4 or 5 months. And he was just waiting for the right time to be able to do it. And that right time was today. So I wanted to share it with you guys because you guys are like family to me, man. Like I just I just love you guys so, so much. I'm so just so happy that I have this. Like literally, I didn't want to cancel today just to be able to go for dinner. I would have if that was how we were going to celebrate, but I just love you guys. So I wanted to share it with you. So there's my ring and my tattoo and yeah. Anyway, there's that. So I'm engaged to be married again. Anyway, okay, so let's get past that. I don't know why I needed to share that with you right now, but that's what I was doing. Oh, because you said feel so great in this moment, and then it reminded me. Squirrel. Okay, so back to the partnerships and the relationships. Um, I have never I have never truly felt like I needed to be with anybody. I've never really felt like I need to get married. I need to have a man to complete me, anything. So when I say like you don't need to have a partner in order to have like good partnerships or relationships, I do believe that. I think it's nice to have somebody. I'm really happy to have Mike, but I think you can have really good committed friends. I think you can have really good um committed relationships that have like bonds that you can't really explain that don't necessarily need to be, in a married kind of way. Do you know what I'm saying? I think we need to be opening ourselves up enough that we can start tapping into other people. Because everybody, I want you guys to think about this. Everybody that you know right now, aside from like family, was a stranger at one time. Everybody. You didn't know, even me. I was a stranger at one time. Now we're friends, right? Like Britt, you with Mel, you guys didn't know each other at all. And now you guys are married. Like, so at one time, everybody was a stranger. And so if we look at it that way, like, how exciting is that for our future? That like every stranger could eventually, potentially become a friend if we're open enough to be kind of accepting that. So, and I'm not saying that we're going to go and like be friends or marry every single person that we're going to meet, but I think with that, like it can be kind of exciting to be a little bit more open to relationships. Um, Even like when and I say this all the time, when I'm doing my lives during the week, and if you're not in our Facebook group, I highly recommend that you come on over. I do like lives there like 4 or 5 times a week. Probably the last 2 weeks I've probably been not doing as much because I've been really not because I've been hiding, but I've been kind of it's been a really big struggle the last 2 weeks. So I haven't really been doing any of my regular stuff. I haven't been doing regular walking. I haven't been doing any of my regular stuff. It's been kind of just get me to the finish line of the day kind of thing. But typically I'm in there 4 or 5 days and I have made some of them have been become friends just by seeing people on the trail consistently smiling, saying hello. I just met a lady that I see every single Thursday, and she introduced me to her husband 2 days ago. So I was walking by myself this time, and she stopped me and she was like, "I wanted to introduce you to my husband." And he's like, "Oh, hi, how do you guys know each other?" And she's like, "We walk at the same time on Thursdays, but we don't walk together." She always is walking in the opposite direction as me. Um, but we see each other every Thursday morning. It's pretty cool. And so that's kind of a sidebar again, all of this. But it's just to say that I think, like I said at the beginning of the show, we need to be having relationships and partnerships and acquaintances and kind conversations with the barista and with the waitress and with the people that are passing by and making eye contact and smiling. All of those things are going to be able to help us feel more connected. And when we feel more connected, it really does help us not feel alone. It really can be that simple. I know that like when you're feeling like you're in that dark, dark place that you just don't want to go on, it's hard to believe that there's connection matters. It's hard to believe that, there's a better day ahead, but there always is. There's always a better day ahead. then it might not be today and it might not be tomorrow, but there's always better days ahead. And we can always look at that right now. We can reflect back and we can see, even on our darkest days, that today is brighter than that day, you know? And that's just proof. And if you're in this right now, that you're in the dark day today, have you had it before that you were in a dark place and then you got out and then there was a better day ahead? There always is if we give it time. And the only time that there isn't is when we don't give it that time. When we succumb to it and say, it doesn't matter, I'm not connected, I don't know anybody, nobody cares. If I left, it would be the right answer. That feels right in the moment, but they're all lies. They're all lies. Because I can tell you for sure that if you called me and you told me, even if we had never met, even if you're listening to this and you've never commented before, and we've never talked before, and we talked just for a minute, and you just told me a little bit about what's going on, and you said, how upsetting life was, and that you're just ready just to be done, I can tell you that that would affect me. And it would definitely affect people that are in your actual orbit, that you see, you don't even know how much you matter to people. Um, that lady on the street that I walk by every single Thursday, I didn't realize that she wanted me to meet her husband. Like, that's kind of big. We could have just walked by him and like, hi, and that's it. But she feels connected to me. And so if I was no longer there, that would be a hole in her life. Not that it would be a big hole. I'm not saying that I'm changing everybody's world, but we are changing everybody's world that's around us. And we never know how much. So if you're listening to this and you're in a state that you just feel like this, you don't want to keep going, please do. Please see a professional if you can. If you can't, just stick around long enough to find that brighter day. I am gonna, unless you guys have something else that you guys want to kind of talk about, but I am gonna kind of wrap it up, I think, shorter today. Normally we go 45 minutes to an hour. Last week, I think we did like an hour and 20 minutes or something. So I am gonna kind of wrap it up. Like I said, unless there's something else. I've had a long day, and I think I just want to kind of go and sit and just be by myself. Mike's not even here. Mike didn't come home tonight. He had to stay over in the States tonight. So not everything is perfect, not everything is ideal. But we got to take those moments that are good, that do feel good, and celebrate them with other people. I have a couple people in my life that are really struggling right now too. They're going through some things with family, and they're going through some things personally. And I was questioning whether or not I tell them about the proposal, because I was like, oh, I don't want to really rub it in. And but then I was like, no, you know what? We're friends. And I would want to know, even if I wasn't feeling great. And two people in particular that I was like really nervous about like telling them, because I know that they're really they're not in a great time right now. And both of them were like, thank you so much. I needed something to smile about. So share your wins, share what's going on, even on the good days, even with people that you think it's going to like put them over the edge. Usually it won't. If you guys are friends, it usually won't. We just all need to be there for each other, you guys. We just need to be kind, and we need to be there for each other. So it doesn't look like anybody's got anything else to say. So I love you guys very, very, very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for indulging me. Thank you for being here live. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about youthfulness. So please come have a conversation. We'll see where it goes. And in the meantime, please come on over to the Facebook group, The Friendly Show, and we'll continue the conversation over there. All right. Love you guys. Bye.